It felt like Nolan had hit his peak with Oppenheimer. How can you get any better than that? How can you go bigger than that, really? And so for him to adapt something so well known and something so entrenched in culture, you would have thought there's no way that he could do it justice. And I thought I was not really excited for this one. I want something a little bit more out there from Nolan. Once again, I'm so happy to be wrong because The Odyssey is the purest cinema. To say this is absolute cinema, it's not even, the cinema is so absolute.
It's just one of a kind, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's shot entirely in IMAX, which is absolutely crazy. IMAX is notoriously loud, and they've made a new entire camera. It's called the Keeley camera, and that has helped film quieter scenes. It's so mind-blowing that this is shot entirely for IMAX, and they're only one for like 2.5 minutes. How do you keep up with such a massive beast of a machine? And we're kind of in a IMAX renaissance where people are really going towards IMAX.
This is the Out of Time Film Podcast, where your hosts Tom and John discuss everything from blockbuster films to TV and games like there's no tomorrow.
For those of you who don't know the story, very simply, this is after the Siege of Troy. Very famous story with the Trojan horse and the soldiers attacking the city. It's about the return journey, and Odysseus is one of the generals who is leading his crew on a different way because he thinks it'll get them home quicker. And they basically encounter a lot of obstacles, and far in the future, we have his wife and his son who are waiting for Odysseus to return. Will he ever return? I guess you'll find out.
Yeah, yes, find out.
It's a given that this film was going to look great. That's what we expect from Nolan. At this point, it's not simply enough for this film to look fantastic. It needs to do something interesting. Now, I've never read The Odyssey. I don't. The story is so entrenched in culture that there's many aspects of it that I'm like, yeah, I know that. But the story itself wasn't something that I was familiar with. So I can't speak about this from an adaptation perspective. But whether a good adaptation or not, I don't think any of that really matters. I think what matters is the work of the film and what it's saying. Whether or not that is exactly true to what the book is saying, it doesn't matter. They're different beasts, they're different things. I think that what it's saying is incredibly interesting. What I liked a lot about this film was, as ever, Nolan is playing with time and he's playing with format. But not only that, but he's playing with the way that stories are told. This whole film is about that very thing. It's about how stories are told. We kind of see throughout the tales of Odysseus told from his greatest admirers or even his greatest critic, which is himself. When he tells a story about his journey, it's much different than when we see other people talking about him as this kind of grand, impressive, powerful man. Whereas he is showing somebody who is more capable of mistakes and is suffering.
This film makes you think about how the Greeks think about their mythology, their gods and their stories, and they were so inspired by nature. And there's some things that just blows your mind. It just feels like for some reason you're there. I don't know how this film just makes you feel so immersed. I just can't believe how he made this film so practical on set, and he had to go to different countries to make it all work with such a stacked cast and such brilliant performances. There's something about it. Is it laced with drugs? Like, what's going on screen? This is incredible.
You do kind of have to just marvel at it and wonder, how did they do this? And I think a big part of that is the practicality of it. When we see them on a boat, they're actually on a boat in the ocean. Nolan's not cutting any corners here. There are things that I watch and I'm like, okay, so surely this is a visual effect, right? This isn't in camera. And then I read about it and I'm like, that was practical? Are you kidding?
Yeah.
So much of this film is blowing your mind constantly. And I feel like it will age so well because the more you find out about it, the more you're like, oh, that's practical and that's practical. And all of this is just going the extra mile. This film has a $250 million budget, and we've talked time and again on this show about often you find films that just aren't worth that amount of money, and the finished product doesn't at all warrant it. It's not going to make its money back. It's going to be a failure. The Odyssey isn't even close to that. I'm impressed that they did this with only $250 million. There's so much of it, the grandness of it. There are moments with armies where you think to yourself, right, okay, how much of this is real people and how much of this is background NPCs? And it's like, no, they just had all of these people on set, 500 or so people as this living army for these scenes. And I think it's incredible. I'm so happy that people are responding to that. This is the biggest opening for Christopher Nolan since The Dark Knight Rises. It's the third biggest opening for an R-rated film ever, and it is the biggest opening for a live-action film in 2026. It got $264 million in its opening weekend, and that is immediately taking back its budget. That is already surpassing Disclosure Day, Moana, Masters of the Universe, and Supergirl. Their entire runs surpassed in 1 week by the Odyssey, and I just think that is beautiful to see people responding to the power of cinema. They're not responding to a franchise. They're not responding to brand loyalty. Maybe Christopher Nolan is the brand that they're responding to, sure, but he's built up that trust and it's not being blindly followed. There's been some insane discourse around this film, and even the naysayers who before it came out were talking about it being woke and historically inaccurate, even some of those guys are turning around and saying, I gotta admit, it's peak. And it is.
What's crazy to me about that discourse is it's just hogwash. They're saying, oh, it's woke and then historically accurate. Are you telling me in this very same film, you got the giants, you got the massive cyclops, the whirling whirlpool, the monster that comes out of nowhere, and people are just saying it's got a trans person, it's got a black person in it. This is not right. I'm like, this is a mythology. This is the mythology, and you're complaining about it's woke. Here's the thing. The story wasn't really written entirely by Homer. People have added ideas to the song. It's a massive song, the Odyssey, and people are just worried about, oh no, it's not going to be the same story. So what? It's a 3,000-year-old story. It can be changed.
The genius of it is that it responds to those criticisms. You can't come out and say it's historically inaccurate because the film very much explicitly is telling you, yeah, this is a fable, it's a myth, and these myths are forgotten and they are changed and they are transformed. The opening text of the film, I can't remember the exact line, but it says something about it being a time of magic. It doesn't say it is the 13th century. It doesn't say, hello, it's 2026. It's not giving us a date. It's saying, imagine a time when this is just part of society. Imagine that. And that's kind of all you need. There's been a conversation about the costumes. The costumes are very simplistic and they're not very bright. They're not accurate to the time that the Odyssey was written. If that was accurate, everyone will be wearing gold and red, and I truly don't mind. The costumes, I think they look fantastic anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, the costumes are visually striking. That's what you need them to be. It doesn't matter that they're not from the era that this book was written. How many books have had anachronistic adaptations? And I think that's a good thing. I think that's okay. Agamemnon, like, oh my God.
Aura. It's Benny Safdie who is playing. That's the same guy who was Bowser Jr. for Super Mario Galaxy.
What a year he's having.
What a year. And then he's got this insane aura for the costume for Agamemnon. It's just, I mean, I love that costume.
That's got to be the best costume of the film. I think that all the armor is fantastic. I love the helmets. I love the dresses that worn by the Queen. I love how flashy Robert Pattinson's outfit is because he's such a little weasel.
Yeah.
It works really nicely.
And the armor as well, it's not like plastic, like in Troy, when that guy takes off that helmet off, it's like,
oh,
zoop.
It's real. Yeah, it's real. It's tangible. It looks great. There is a world where this story can be told with historically accurate armor and more colorful armor. I don't think that media is lacking flashy versions of these things. You watch something like Night at the Museum, and that's got loads of flashy armor. And in the UK, you got stuff like Horrible Histories.
Wow, that's just so funny to me. We just went to Odyssey to Horrible Histories, which is peak, by the way. Horrible Histories is great. Yeah.
Yes, it absolutely is. This is an R-rated film. This is a film for adults. It's not supposed to be teaching children about real life history. Helen of Troy, in the story, hatched from an egg, right?
Oh, yeah.
People complaining about a black woman. By the way, Lupita Nyong'o, one of the most beautiful humans that I've ever set eyes on. You saying that she's Helen of Troy? Yeah.
Yes.
I can see people starting a war over her beauty. You say that like that's unrealistic. Mate, she hatched from an egg. And it's just cool to have diversity in myth. How many young people don't get to see themselves in these kinds of adaptations, in legends and myth and fables? They will now have that chance. And that's brilliant, seeing people of colour in prominent roles, seeing a trans man as one of the first people we see, seeing women not just sitting back and having no say in the plot. You cannot understate that importance. To come from a filmmaker like Nolan, who has that audience push, is amazing. Once again, this isn't history.
And it's completely different from the source material I heard because it does explore Athena and Odysseus in a very different way and how Odysseus has some sort of realization about the siege of Troy. What I love about this film is how there are scenes where you're just completely grappled by, like the Cyclops scene where it's a 6 foot. Is it 6 foot? I don't know.
It's
That's
definitely
the
not
average person.
I'm 6
That's
foot,
the
John.
average person.
Can you imagine? It's just me.
Oh my God,
I'm in the-
Tom, you're a Cyclops. You're a Cyclops right here. Oh my
It's a
God.
big ginger man. Just run, Odysseus, run.
I don't know how tall the Cyclops was.
At least like 20 foot, maybe.
20 foot in that cave where they actually filmed in Zeus's birthplace cave, which is insane.
Yes.
And in that scene, the sound design, the screeching, I thought I was going to go deaf again.
Again.
The other and then again, and then the other scene with the giants, and they were just terrifying. They were just absolutely terrifying.
Again, practical. What?
Practical.
The actual. You know what it was for me? It was the scene with Cersei.
Nolan should do horror.
This film is definitely his scariest film, and Nolan has said the next film that he wants to do is horror. And you look at the Odyssey, some of the sequences, I wasn't expecting grotesque body horror. He says he wants to do a horror film, and I'm like, yeah, okay, I see it. What's great as well is that we very much get these episodes of this journey that build, because the way that they decide to tell it, they kind of intercut past and present narratives. It's very much like Little Women. What Little Women does with the chronology of that story is very interesting. And the build-up as things get darker and darker on Odysseus' journey compared with what we find out about its context in the past and also in the future with Odysseus' son. I thought it was also great. And also, interestingly, they shot this chronologically. And so the emotions that the characters would feel are all part of this great tapestry and this great journey. Watching it all is so impressive on that big screen, and you really feel the journey. Very much it is in conversation with the history of stories. The very opening line is spoken by Travis Scott. And Nolan himself has talked about that casting being intended to reflect the kind of storytellers. There's the storytellers of this era, and now the storyteller of our era are artists like Travis Scott. There is also a motif in this film about stories being passed down through song. And so the idea that Travis Scott is the first person who speaks, Nolan is no stranger to casting musicians in his, Bowie, Harry Styles, whatever. It's kind of genius that immediately Nolan gives you such a massive part of the mission statement of this isn't history, this is oral tradition passed down as songs are passed down. And here's Travis Scott to welcome us to this story.
Yeah. And the fact that he was also in the closing credit for Tenet, it does become full circle in a way. And I've seen people talking about it online, is that it's some sort of trilogy, Tenet, Oppenheimer, and Odyssey. It feels like all these films are connected in some way, which is quite fascinating. With Tenet, it feels like an Avengers line, like, there's great people in our time, like Oppenheimer, like that line. And then we got Oppenheimer. Nolan was inspired by the book American Prometheus. And Prometheus was the one who brought fire to the world and gave that gift to the humans. This is Greek mythology. And as you're saying, Tom, we're looking back at the history of storytelling. You can really see what Nolan is trying to say here.
The whole thing is about the destructive tendencies of man. The great thing about this trilogy that Nolan has made is that we're seeing throughout eras the things that defy the gods, that defy nature, the lengths that people will go to win, whether it be the siege of Troy or World War II or the future of the nuclear arms race. Is it breaking Zeus's law, or is it making the atomic bomb, or is it traveling through time? All these things Nolan has been asking us about in these last three films. It all becomes so clear in the Odyssey. And then Nolan takes it another step when you realize this whole trilogy has been in reverse. Like Tenet, it's a palindrome of itself. It ends where it begins with the idea of storytelling and where that's going to go. Nolan, you genius! I can't believe I ever doubted this film, really.
I was like the hype man. When I saw the teaser, like last year, I was like, yeah, this is going to be special. When you see that silhouette of the Trojan horse, and then the film, oh my God, the film opens up with the Trojan horse on the beach, and then all those extras are pulling the Trojan horse along the way. It just really reminded me of like Lawrence of Arabia with the massive set pieces that they have with the armies that are coming through the desert. That just tickles my brain. And it makes you think as well, like how many people there are on set to make this work. I'm just so glad this film exists.
I saw this film pretty much immediately after watching the Avengers trailer. Some of the visuals in that trailer.
Oh, depression.
This film is probably about the same length as Avengers Doomsday will be. Probably has around the same amount of characters. Probably has a pretty similar budget. And while that film is spending 50 million just to get Robert Downey Jr., this film is moving mountains and
Yes.
literally making us believe in real cyclopses that are actually there in camera. Just incredible. I don't mean to shit on Marvel unnecessarily, but you just like, I feel like in many ways cinema is healing with 2026. I believe this is the first film to be shot entirely in
Yes.
IMAX.
Yes.
Now that
First time in
is,
history.
if nothing else, you've got to see this film in IMAX because this is just history right here. There's never a point where the aspect ratio changes. It always feels appropriately grand.
I think that is wonderful, but it's gotten to a point where it's not accessible. So I would love to see IMAX to be something accessible to the public. There's only like 8 cinema screens that you can see the pure vision, like 70 mil. Boom, you got it.
I traveled an hour to watch this film in IMAX. I hope that when this film does get a home release, it will be released in the IMAX ratio. That is another thing that makes IMAX so unique, so special, is because outside of the cinema, often physical releases don't even have that same ratio. And what a year we're having for IMAX as well. Project Hail Mary and The Odyssey and soon to be Spider-Man and then Hunger Games in June later on in the year. That's an interesting case study because June has IMAX exclusivity, and that means that Avengers won't have IMAX for a couple of weeks, and so they've literally had to invent their own thing to try and even come close to the popularity of IMAX. It's so cool to see the Odyssey showings just sold out for weeks on end, like still.
Until September. That's
Right.
insane.
Every single element of this film is to be commended. Ludwig Göransson, his score, absolutely breathtaking. He reconstructed Bronze Age instruments.
Nolan wanted him to no, you're not getting an entire orchestra. You're just gonna do it from scratch with the Bronze
Really?
era. Yes.
Oh my God, it's amazing. And the sound of it all, some of those most powerful moments with his score, just incredible. I think Nolan and Göransson, the fact that they have come together is mouth-wateringly brilliant.
Yes, I really love the score in some bits where you're in this terrifying storm. What's also clever as well is that you don't really get to see the gods, but there are gods in this movie. When it's rough at sea, that's Poseidon, and then there's thunder, that's Zeus. And on this bit where the ship breaks apart and it just has this despair, that altered my brain chemistry to like, how on earth did they film this and made me feel like I was on that ship? Just like, no, Odysseus, no.
You really feel the crew and their camaraderie, but also the distrust that begins to arise. And it's also well cast. You know, Nolan, he's bringing back people. This is Matt Damon's third Nolan. This is Anne Hathaway's third Nolan. All over this film, you've got Nolan veterans, but also new talent. You got Tom Holland and Zendaya, who are both phenomenal in this.
Samantha Morton, incredible. And then Lupita Nyong'o, incredible. I love her. Her story is just so tragic and so interesting to see. And these are active characters, which I'm really happy. And then with Penelope as well, with Anne Hathaway's character, that performance as well with the idea of she doesn't get any control over the suitors. She's been wanting to get that power for 20 years, but she needs people respecting her. She wants people to see her.
Everyone, even the smallest roles, like Elliot Page gets only a couple of scenes.
Oh, Elliot Page.
This is amazing. Every single actor is bringing their all, and every single role is significant. It's just so impressively made. You got Himesh Patel in there.
He's so much in
of
it
course.
because I thought he was going to be like a side character, but I'm really glad that he got that screen time. His performance works so well to see what Odysseus's character is like. And there are bits and moments where he questions his leadership. And especially when he sees Odysseus listening to the Song of the Sirens. And that scene, incredible. Another incredible scene, but him really see the effect with Odysseus and how he is cursed. This film really explodes without consequence.
Another great bit of sound design there. To get into spoilers, so much of it is so well plotted, and to reach such a powerful emotional climax, that's something that I wasn't necessarily sure they could do because I wasn't necessarily feeling the emotions of it until maybe the halfway point. It is a slow build into it. And to see the reveal of Odysseus in that final moment where he strings his bow and then just goes ham on everyone in that room.
That's hype. The bow just like, "Chung," and everyone just knows like, oh, it's Odysseus. Penelope's like, oh, he's back, and then Potter bows, and he's such a slimy guy. He's like,
Yes.
everyone just fight him, just
Yes,
bloody fight.
yes.
Just-
And the way
just
that the
keep
way
it
that he
going.
eventually kills him and being like,
Yes.
you can tell him yourself. Like, I'm so in awe of how it brings everything together. It's brilliant seeing him finally display that power. But also after seeing his own vulnerability, we understand
Yes.
that what they did in Troy was break Zeus's law and defy the gods. Again, humanity's own destructive tendencies have ruined everything good
Yeah.
in their intentions.
I think it's so interesting when he spends his time with Calypso in that world and he realizes his story as he remembers. That's great character development to fully realize about his actions, how he ended up and how he wants to go back home. It's so tragic, and he does become like a new character when he returns back home when nobody recognizes him. No one until his dog, Argos. It's so sad because his dog only responds to him. And that whole monologue where Odysseus, disguised as no one, confesses to Penelope what happened in the siege of Troy. And here we are, guys. This is where we're talking about. This is my favorite moment in the story. It's heartbreaking. It really reminded me of Oppenheimer. Odysseus tells Penelope the siege of Troy and the consequences of that siege. He led the siege. He created the idea of the Trojan horse. That siege didn't go exactly to plan because that killed loads of innocent people, pillaged lots of things from Troy, destroyed so many statues. There's a whole narrative like Athena talking to Odysseus along the way, guiding him. But then Zendaya is one of the people that got killed in the siege.
I enjoy how you didn't say that Zendaya plays Athena. So you just kind of say that the big reveal is that Matt Damon sees famous actress Zendaya at the end. The big reveal is like,
as like
that's
out
fucking
of context.
Zendaya.
Oh my god, it's Zendaya. Oh, and she's dead. Oh, she's gone.
Oh, Zendaya, I loved you in June.
But no, Zendaya is Athena in the movie. Gods can disguise themselves as humans. The clever thing is that Nolan uses the idea of the innocent person that got killed as Athena along the way, as Athena haunts a narrative. So many tragedies that along the way. They all broke Zeus's law. And that moment, I was just completely mind blown how they utilized that emotional peak of the story to really showcase his regrets. Now he must go in exile to respect his fallen soldiers. That's not in the source material at
So
all
good.
because Athena.
Oh, really?
In the source material, it's not explained why Athena guides Odysseus or why does Odysseus need Athena. This is way more powerful. The final shot of this movie is the Trojan horse. And as the movie begins with the Trojan horse, so it's the idea of leadership and how leadership and ideas can lead to consequence. It can be good or bad. And all that is explored in the trilogy.
And the cool thing about the Trojan horse as well, and this trilogy that we're talking about, is how does Tenet open?
I forgot. I haven't seen the film in ages.
Okay, fair enough. It opens with the protagonist and his comrades going to break in to
Yes, into
the
the
opera,
opera house.
and they are all in disguise, and they
Yes.
are in a van to get them inside the facility. The van is a Trojan horse. This
Yes.
whole thing, again, whether intentional or not, I'm running with it. It's full circle. It all goes,
Yes.
This trilogy is just, Nolan, you're a genius.
Yeah, I'll go along with it. That's how Nolan is. I did this. And
It was planned. Yeah, Tenet. It's a
It was all planned.
palindrome.
And-
It's a palindrome.
yeah,
Pull up as a
and-
palindrome.
the other thing as well, there is a theme of guilt. Someone just check up with Nolan because with the idea of like showing what happens in the Siege of Troy is harrowing. I wonder if Nolan, from Tenet, from Oppenheimer to this, there was that theme of reconciliation or with guilt.
It's all very metatextual in a way because with these three films, as you say, there is this element of guilt. And Nolan himself changed cinema. He changed everything, especially with The Dark Knight, because it introduced this superhero boom that dominated the landscape. I've seen people joking online, this is Nolan regretting what he did. And so he's making these movies about creators who regret their own creation. I don't think it's that serious, but there's definitely a level to be said about, things have changed and this is a film made in a way that films aren't really made anymore. So it's just kind of brilliant to see. The whole thing is commenting on, and I think the same with Oppenheimer, it's a question of those who forget history are condemned to repeat it. The ideas that he's talking about is so harrowing and so anti-war that you look at arguably where this all began with the forsaking of Zeus's law. The idea of love thy neighbor, treat others as you would want to be treated. That's Zeus's law. The idea of it, and then the idea of forsaking that just to win a battle, and then that becoming raping and pillaging and becoming something that people are scared of, the sea people, and they are the sea people. It's also genius. And then the moment of Penelope and Odysseus take your fastest ship and your brightest men and sail off into the distance, chasing the escaping sun. I am in awe of how it brings it all together. Those final moments talking about the story may be forgotten, the songs will continue, and that is just part of myth. I am floored. When I walked out the cinema, my dad was just like, that's my favorite film of the year, and that might be my favorite Nolan film. As with all Nolan films, dads like it. But the second ever episode of the podcast, we ranked Nolan films, and I don't expect you to remember your ranking.
It's changed. It's changed.
Of course, of course. But roughly, does this rank highly for you? Is this kind of a mid-tier Nolan?
I absolutely adore this movie. I think this is in my top 5. What about you, Tom? Is that somewhere in the top 5, or is it somewhere?
13 films. Even his number 13 film in my ranking is still brilliant. Like, he hasn't made a bad film. But yeah, I would probably maybe put it in my top 5 as well. It's definitely upper half of his films.
When a good movie just takes your breath away and you're just like, you sigh like, yeah, that was a good 2 hours and 49 minutes, and that was worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. What are you going to give The Odyssey after all of that out of 10?
Oh my God. Tom, I think this is my 10. This is my 10.
This is a rare occasion, folks.
This is a rare occasion. This is so close because 28 years later, Bone Temple is so close.
Yeah.
It's so close.
Yeah.
Having seen this movie, how did he make this movie? I'm just still blown away. What about you, Tom?
I think we've only given a 10 out of 10 on this podcast, maybe once or twice before. So, like, genuinely, just to give everyone a sense of how uncommon it is for a 10 out of 10, it's a golden rating. And I'm giving it a 9. That's right, still not perfect. Nothing can crack me. It sucked. Only 9 out of 10. Fuck you.
The one is the movie should have been longer.
Yeah. No, like, still absolutely phenomenal. It's not leaving my top 10 of 2026. No way. Stunning stuff. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Wherever you're coming from, YouTube, Spotify, Apple, leave a like, subscribe, follow, give us a 5-star review if you think we're worthy. And next week, let's just take a moment to appreciate that Spider-Man Brand New Day is next week. Oh, man.
We got John Bernthal, we got Tom Holland, and we got Zendaya from The Odyssey. What a lovely time. I'm so jolly. I'm like, yay.
Oh, lucky us. Brilliant.
Lucky us.
Absolutely fantastic. And you can send us an email at outsteinfilmpod@gmail.com. Let us know your thoughts on Spider-Man Brand New Day, and we'll answer it in the podcast here next week.
Yes, and you can find links to the description below, Instagram, Twitter. Thank you, Zain, for the excellent thumbnails. Thanks, Elle, for the fabulous tune, the theme tune. I love it. And Ronan for focus as always. Take what you're given.
Give nothing back.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.